We're going to get straight to it. Today is January 17th, 2025. And literally, we have about almost 72 hours left until Trump becomes president. Um, there's a lot of information out there. Some is meant to confuse you, some is meant to put fear in your heart. And then you have those who are trying to enlighten you um, because they're passionate about it. You have some human beings out there who really love truth and really have that that sense of brotherhood or that sense of humanhood, whatever you want to call it. Um, so right here we have the Dr. Stephen Greer podcast. He just started it. I want to say maybe yesterday. This was the episode, or it says 2 days ago. So Um, this is one of my main resources when it comes to 0 point energy information. If you haven't heard of that before, do your homework. I've been watching him for about a year now. He has a great documentary called The Lost Century. Um, yeah, he's been doing this work. He's been putting the work out here, putting in work. We're about to watch his new podcast, and let's update. Let's see what's going on. Let's hear what he's talking about. Let's make sure that with the events going on in the world, that we are not in last place. Peace, peace. Let's do this. Episode one.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Stephen Greer, and this is the first episode of our podcast, the Dr. Stephen Greer podcast. And the reason we're starting this podcast now, rather emergently here today, is because we have a group of people who are in the process in the next 72 hours or so who will be coming forward with a great deal of information and evidence related to the UFO and NHI or extraterrestrial issue. And I think the public is going to need to have a source of perspective and context and analysis to go to. And so I feel that this is the time for me to start a podcast like this. We're going to be eager to let everyone, put the word out that we're doing this because I think without the context and interpretation, understanding, there'll be too many opportunities for the disclosure of this information to be manipulated, go sideways, and create all kinds of confusion. So I think when we do these, we're going to try to do them every week if possible. I'll be traveling a great deal with what's happening, but we have a portable setup here, and we'll just kind of do it on the road when I'm traveling. So we're going to keep all of you up to date, at least on a weekly basis, and maybe more than that if there are further breaking events. And one thing I'd like to ask everyone to do is to share the link to this podcast with everyone else and put it up on sites so it gets the widest information out. One of the things that we've been doing just leading up to this, for those of you who are new to the Disclosure Project, I just want to introduce what we've been doing for the last 34 years. I was a young medical emergency and trauma doctor when I started this project. And it's evolved. And a little bit of background might be helpful for you guys. When I first started it, the intent was to initiate a program where humans.
You guys gonna have to go fill in the dots for yourself on his story. I'm here to break the food down for you, so I'm going to fast forward and get into the food.
Those illegally run programs. I want to emphasize that there are two governments dealing with this. There's the constitutional government. Most of the people in that government have no idea what's going on. And I can say that with authority because I'm one of the only people you'll ever meet who has briefed people at that level of government since 1993, when I briefed the incoming President Clinton's CI director. Then, the other part of it is in Congress, or most people in Congress, they know nothing about the subject, even if they're on key oversight committees. So this has been something that was a shock to me. It's going to be a shock to you. It's going to be a shock to the world and the American public to find out that the constitutional government in the United States since the late 1950s have been basically pushed aside and relegated to irrelevance, frankly, on this issue since the late Eisenhower years. And so this whole history we will unpack over a series of these episodes because it's very important to understand the context of how we got from there to here. But importantly, right now, the crisis of the moment is that there are a number of people coming forward from various black sites, which are highly classified, illegally run operations in intelligence, military, and corporate programs. And those guys that I've been meeting with for about almost 2 years now, 20 months, have decided to come forward publicly, identify themselves, and in a controlled release begin to give the information to the American people and the U.S. government. So this is a very complex program. It's now coming to a sort of a crescendo, and this is why I think we need to be talking with each other every week or so.
So let's go to the first question, which is going to be about human technology. What is the real capacity of human technology?
Right. Well, here, the biggest part of this story isn't the extraterrestrial part of it, ironically. That's secondary. And in fact, people who have been in these covert programs that are very disinformation oriented have wanted the public to believe we're not alone, but that there's a threat from outer space. And most of you who are familiar with my work know what Werner von Braun, through his spokesperson for the last 5 years of his life, Carol Rosin, said when he was dying. And in 1974 said the whole purpose of these covert programs, one of the big overarching purposes, is to be able to hoax a attack or an alien threat and present the extraterrestrial presence as a threat so that they could consolidate military power, industrial power, and also pivot the population through fear into realizing there's another enemy to fight. Now, when you're doing that, it's a long-term psychological warfare operation, a PSYOP. And the best way to do that is once they figured out and reverse engineered the extraterrestrial vehicles, the NHI craft, as they're calling them now, non-human intelligence craft, those then began to be deployed in the late 1950s into operational craft that look like a UFO. For most people in the lay public, they're indistinguishable from a vehicle. And those have been used in deceptive operations known as false flag operations. And these include everything that's in the pop culture on the subject, human abductions by aliens, mutilations of cattle and humans, and all kinds of skullduggery. Now, we can prove, if you go to our archive, that this has been a CIA PSYOP for many, many decades. If you look at The Lost Century and some of the other documentaries we've done, we put that evidence in there. I'm not going to unpack all that right now. But the big story has always been the technology, because without the technology, they couldn't hoax the threat, which is completely false. Anybody with any understanding of this, and even members of Congress are saying this now, like Congressman Burchett and others, that if they were hostile, we would have been totally obliterated by now because of what we've been doing. And as soon as we detonate.
Basically, what he's saying right here is like if the extraterrestrials, I know, excuse the way I pronounce it, but aliens, if these beings were hostile, don't you think they would have been destroyed us by now?
The first atomic weapons. So the real issue becomes, if they were hostile, what are we still doing? And why are we still here targeting them and knocking them out of the sky? And we'll get into this in a moment. It's because they're not hostile. They're here to help us and understand us, but they're waiting for us, humans, to grow up to a level of evolution where we can live peacefully on the planet, become a planet using advanced technology, i.e. not fossil fuels or solar or what have you, but very advanced technologies in physics, and then join them out in space eventually in an interplanetary society over the long haul, over hundreds and thousands of.
Which is kind of crazy because I'm just saying, let's think about it. Let's jump into the deep end of the pool. If you are another species and you were looking at the human race and you wanted to give the human race great technology to time travel, to do things that we've only seen on movies, you first have to see the level of maturity of the race. Just like when it comes to adults and children, you don't give a baby a gun, right? You wait until you have to wait until the child is old enough to understand and is no longer a child to be able to grasp what he has. So, um, I believe, and this is just a belief until I get any other evidence, that they're looking at us like we're idiots. If there are beings that are paying attention to us on this type of level, like we're children, they're looking at us like we're idiots right now. For one, because racism still exists. And to me, racism is a form of mental health. Keep pulling on this side. Get it right, y'all. So, yeah, let's tap back in.
Of years. That's their objective. Now, the objective of covert programs has been to attack these objects, seize them, study how they work, what's called reverse engineering, where you take something and you take it apart, you study it and study it and study it, figure out how it works, and then rebuild it to the best of your ability. Those reverse engineering programs started in the 1940s, and they hit really major pay dirt, let's say, results in October of 1954 when they mastered gravity control. We have that information from the top.
Y'all heard that. Note that. Mastered gravity control.
Scientists at the Naval Research Labs, the biggest Department of Defense labs in the world, who saw that document in, quote, the vault some years ago in the 1990s and informed us about that. So I think most of the problems we're going to run into with disclosure is that neither the president nor the Congress nor the general public and media understand what the technologies are that have been figured out already that can be used in deceptive and, malicious ways. So I think this is why we have to have this conversation now, because those systems, not only have they already been used to create the specter of a danger from outer space, and never mind Hollywood and the media and everything ufological being very terrifying to the general public.
Which a lot of you guys probably don't know, that a lot of the movies that we see on on certain subjects like aliens, the script has actually been given to them, to Hollywood, from the military. Look it up yourself.
But I think that with this coming out, there's a big risk that they will start hitting buttons to make more and more false flag operations happen. And the only way they can get away with that is by the populace and our leaders being tricked. And the only way you can prevent people from being tricked is having the knowledge, the facts of what we actually have. So that's what I want to talk about for just a moment.
So basically what he's saying is the only way that the majority of people won't get tricked if they do a false flag operation is if we already know that the technology exists. And basically what he's saying is we need awareness so we can't be bamboozled.
Moment. Now imagine this, just put this in your paradigm. The week that the head of the Lockheed Skunk Works, the fabled director of that, Ben Rich, was passing away, he told a member of our team and a friend of mine, James Goodall, a very well-known aerospace historian, that we had figured all this out. And this is now 1995, so this is 30 years ago. And he says, anything you can imagine and anything you've seen on Star Trek, we already have. And it's not at Area 51. It's out there in the desert with the Lockheed Skunk Works. Now, I've been at that facility, and I've been there in the last 15 months. So what he was saying was that we have figured this out, but the folks who have, let's say, an overarching desire to control the population through fear, through endless war, through control of the energy sector, this is key, they don't want the full truth out. They want part of the truth out.
So basically, to sum it up, is he's saying that there's a group of people who don't want awareness of this technology, because if this technology comes out, then guess what? A lot of people are going to lose money. So it goes back to money. If you find out that we really don't need gas, we really don't need electricity, or we don't need to pay for these things, overnight the world would flip. And there's a group of people who are not with it. They only want you to get bits and pieces of this information because of control, population control. I'm going to stop this here, and I'm going to tap into something else. Y'all. Okay.
Deep Divers' new UFO whistleblower just released.
Okay, so this video came out 4 hours ago, right? Infinite Waters, deep diving. I've been watching this brother for a minute. I actually did another reaction video to one of his videos just recently when he was talking about the fires. So, this video right here, I haven't seen it yet. But as we can see, Dr. Stephen Greer was just talking about in the other video, how within the next 72 hours, there are going to be whistleblowers coming out before Trump actually goes into office, because it's not because before he goes in, but they're coming out at this time. So when he does come into office, they feel a little protected. So let's see let's see how deep in the pool this brother right here has dived.
Some mind-blowing information that's really gonna rock you out of your chair. Deep divers, do you believe in a parallel universe? Do you believe in UFOs, aliens? Well, what this new UFO whistleblower just said is really gonna give you something to think about. Look, I want all of you right now to hit that like button if you support The Real.
Hit this like button too if you support The Real.
Hit that like button right now if you support The Real, Deep Divers, because we got a whole lot to talk about. Peace. Infinite Waters diving deep once again. Deep Divers, I woke up like this, all magical and turquoisey.
All right, bro. All right, let's get to the stuff, man.
Breathing in
With
that
the
good ass
extras.
prana, baby. That was needed. Raising the frequency. I feel so much better now. Raising the vibration. I feel so much better now. Sending you a wave of good ass energy, Deep Divers. The cat down the road said, you feel great. Good. Look, let me say a big shout out to everybody out there who's joined the new Ralph Smart Patreon page. Divers, click the link down. Infinite Power by Ralph Smart. The new, get an early copy. Go and get whistleblower shocking claims, okay? We're going to cover this story because it is truly fascinating. Things they're not telling you. We're going to dive into it. But first and foremost, if you're watching this video, this is your confirmation. So much good is coming your way. If you're ready for that, do a little samba, baby. That's good. And we ain't even had breakfast yet. Can I get a hello there? So in becoming our greatest versions, Deep Divers, what's really helped me is to question everything. Your gut.
All right, UFO sightings the military can't explain. Congressional hearings, Pentagon whistleblowers, armadas of strange aircraft flying over, of all places, New Jersey. What does it all mean? Well, since last year's groundbreaking interview with whistleblower David Grush, News Nation's been out front on this story, and we've got another major exclusive. A new whistleblower is coming forward saying he's not just saying he's heard about a secret government program to retrieve UFO crash remains. He says he's worked on this program. He claims to have video to prove it, and credentialed colleagues.
Stop it right there. What did I tell you about 2025? I told you it's going to be the year of whistleblowers. Did I or did I not? Thank you, deep divers. Let's continue.
He say it's the year of whistleblowers. I say it's the year of conflict. Do they go hand in hand? They do. Because there's going to be a lot of conflict due to whistleblowing. And it's a lot going on, y'all. Stay tuned. Tune in.
Who back him up, and he has the attention of at least one senior lawmaker. News Nation's Ross Coulthard has been working on the story for more than a year. He conducted the interview for a special report airing right here this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And News Nation correspondent Joe Khalil is here with a first look. Joe, these are pretty stunning claims.
Yeah, they are, Elizabeth. The man you saw in the video, Jake Barber, he's an Air Force veteran, and he is coming forward with some shocking claims. The first person to go public saying that he actually participated directly in a secret military program that he...
Let me stop it right there, deep divers. So this is the first person to go public saying that he participated in this.
Absolutely. He's the first person to go public. There have been people who have not personally, well, they have been in it, but they, due to the oath of secrecy, haven't said too much to the public. So this is the first person to actually be involved, to actually speak to the public.
That's crazy, right? This is big news, deep divers. Let's continue.
He believes was to retrieve UAP or alien craft. Now, Barber says he was contracted as a helicopter pilot. He retrieved all kinds of crashed craft. Some of it, he says, top secret and explainable. Others, he says, however, he believes were non-human origin. It's not just him. We've got 3 other military veterans backing up his story on the record and on camera to News Nation. So take a listen quickly to just part of Ross Coulthard's conversation with Barber.
So tell me about the moment when you realized that you were involved in a retrieval of non-human technology, alien tech.
So it became very clear the first time our communication process and procedure was modified. And then just visually looking at the object on the ground, you could tell that it was extraordinary and anomalous. It was not human.
How close did you get?
Well, I was a helicopter pilot, and I operate with 150-foot to 200-foot long line. So I got within 150 feet of this object.
What did you see?
I saw an egg, a white egg.
Was there any visible propulsion system on it?
No, not what we would know. There's no engine, there was no thermal signature. I was operating at night when I finally came in to pick it up, so I'm working under night vision goggles at the time. And it was quite clear. I flipped them up, flipped them down, and looked at it a couple of different ways.
How did you know that that egg-shaped object was non-human in origin?
Well, visually, after seeing all kinds of things in my past, it was clearly something that was ridiculously looking. It's inconsistent with anything I'd ever seen before.
And take into consideration, deep divers, he's a veteran, an Air Force veteran. So he's seen a lot, right? So pay attention to what he's saying.
Can also tell you that the reaction by my team, we all knew we were dealing with something extraordinary.
And at no stage were you ever subsequently told that the craft was of non-human origin?
I will tell you that during this process over the last couple of years, it's been confirmed to me by ranking members of the UAP task force that what we were working with that night was in fact NHI, and it was not a unique experience.
So, Elizabeth, Saturday night, 8 p.m. is that special that you can see here. They've also got some exclusive video of one of these retrievals that's never before been seen. We've also confirmed Barber has met with some high-level Senate staff. So a lot there, and you're going to see all that this weekend.
Wow. That's a blockbuster. All right, Joe Khalid.
This weekend, so Saturday, tomorrow, it's Friday right now, guys. So Saturday, stay tuned. They about to come out with it.
Thanks so much. And we can all watch Hunting UFOs, the crash.
By the way, this information is going to be groundbreaking because, for one, we're going to see the technology that exists that we were unaware of. But for two, we're going to say, okay, why have we not been using this technology when it comes to fires, when it comes to gas, when it comes to all these things that we use this stuff for? Like, why have we not been using this new technology? Well, the answer to me is because there's a certain group of people who will prefer to control you than to help you elevate.
Retrieval Whistleblower this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Let's get one thing straight, deep divers. We've never ever been alone. And I've got proof. You know why? Because we are only seeing less than 0.05% of the electric. Okay? So, First World War, the First World War, and the Second World War, deep divers. There are accounts, historical accounts, of people seeing UFOs, UAPs, alien spacecrafts, alien technology. This is a well-known fact.
That is a well-known fact that in the world wars, that when they dropped them bombs, when they dropped the atomic bomb, you've seen these spacecraft that came out of nowhere as if they were checking on something. So this is what he's talking about is true.
And you think you're alone? They've been telling you in Hollywood, E.T., phone home. Ridley Scott has been telling you. All of these directors have been telling you that we aren't alone. What's that director's name? Stanley Kubrick, who directed Space Odyssey 2001, the author Arthur C. Clarke said, either we are alone or we're not. And each thought is equally terrifying. It's time to wake up. So you have a journalist by the name of Jeremy Corbell, and he also talked about how these UFOs and UAPs are actually going underwater, but that's shocking. That's really shocking. And you got to remind yourself, like, I played you that News Nation clip, Deep Divers, and you have to remind yourself that it's good when you see mainstream media, like sites like News Nation, actually posting things like this, because a lot of other news channels aren't really talking about this, like, and it's good to see that, because you got to remind.
Well, we live in an age to where they're going to have to post something real because too many independent journalists are giving out the jewels now. They have to, or they're just going to be totally wiped out. Now we live in a time where you're going to have to come with the realness. You're going to have to. Deep dive.
Remind yourself, a lot of these UFO whistleblowers are actually putting their life in danger by exposing these government secrets. They're not supposed to be talking about this, right? And that's the reason why even David Grush, even when he went on Rogan, he was kind of tight-lipped. He wasn't really saying a lot. But this new guy is just saying, hey, I'm going to say everything, right? So the crazy thing, Deep Dives, is that the more you go back into history, further back into time, like ancient civilizations, ancient Egypt or Kemet, Sumeria.
And I'm going to stop it right there. We are officially in the 30-minute range. I don't like to keep you guys time that long. I'm just here to feed you. So, Hitman said it. Peace, love, and light. Until the next one.